This is the breaking news about the fourth stimulus payments, Social Security news, and Ssdi news. So continue watching this fourth stimulus check update.
That when members of Congress are making decisions, that those decisions are based on what those members believe is best for the public.
The crisis continues across the country, and many people are waiting for the federal government to pass more financial aid. As of right now, there have been several fourth stimulus check proposals. These proposals include sending out another round of stimulus checks to Americans that have been struggling financially due to this crisis. Progressive Democratic lawmakers have already proposed legislation that would hand over recurring stimulus checks or guaranteed income, with monthly payments of up to $1,200 and $600 for children. Now $1,200 a month would truly help so many people stay afloat right now. The proposal was introduced by Ilhan Omar, a Democratic representative that's trying to get some stimulus bills approved for us.
Is doing something that is simple, that is straightforward, and that is transparent. And that is to say, we're not going to try to find any kind of workarounds. We're just going to say, if you want to be in Congress, if you want to be a representative, if you want to be a senator, then you're held to the highest standard. And the highest standard is you don't own this stuff, you don't trade in this stuff, you're done. You can be in mutual funds, you can be in index funds, that is broadly held funds across the whole market. That's fine.
In addition, folks, progressive Democratic lawmakers have proposed pieces of legislation that would hand over recurring stimulus checks or guaranteed income, with monthly payments of up to $1,200 for adults and $600 for children. So I do believe that a $1,200 stimulus check would truly help so many people stay afloat right now. The proposal was introduced on Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar. According to the Congresswoman, the bill is designed to build a 21st century economy that is reflective of Americans' everyday needs. It's known as the Sending Unconditional Payments to People Overcoming Resistance to Triumph Act. It's called a Support Act for short. It would create a guaranteed income program of up to $1,200 a month. In an official statement, Representative Omar said, "Poverty is a choice, and for too long, we have prioritized endless growth, while millions of people are homeless, hungry, or without health care. The crisis has laid bare these inequalities. We as a nation have the ability to make sure everyone has their basic needs like food, housing, and healthcare met." So I do agree with this, folks, and I do think that President Biden, Kamala Harris, and many other Democrats in Congress should do something about this and approve more stimulus payments. It only makes sense. It would begin with a $2.5 billion grant fund that will be used in pilot programs across the country to be studied from 2023 to 2027. After reviewing the findings, everybody, and best practices, the federal government would implement a national guaranteed income program in 2028. According to a summary of the proposal, in order to be eligible for the full monthly payment, single taxpayers would need an AGI of $75,000 or less, and $150,000 or less for married couples filing jointly. Payments would be gradually scaled down at a rate of $5 per every $100 over those income levels. Parents of children born this year and those who have a new dependent in 2021 could receive an additional $1,400 on top of their tax refund in 2022 because of the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan allocated $1,400 for eligible individuals and the dependent children, while most people have already received their full payment. EIP checks, everybody, that were sent down in 2021 are advance payments of the recovery rebate credit. Those who did not receive the full amount that they're owed those who didn't receive the full amount by December 31st can claim the remainder of the money when they file their 2022 taxes. So thank you again for your support, everybody. If you have any questions about the fourth stimulus payments, leave them in the comments.
Amr, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, thanks. So new CPI numbers come out tomorrow, and economists are forecasting an index of, I believe, 7.3% annually. And I was just wanting to ask, what do you see in the data right now that suggests inflation will fall quickly this year? And how confident are you that a decrease in inflation can occur without hurting demand in the economy?
Well, let me start with a little bit of a preview, well, we don't know the numbers. I know there are projections, but just as people are preparing to look at these numbers and prepare to report on the numbers. So first, when we look at tomorrow's data, what we're looking at is recent trends in inflation. So in November and December, price increases showed relative to the month before, slowed relative to the month before, and in January, they were down almost half from where they were in October. That's a sign of progress, that the inflationary increases are decreasing, I should say, month to month. And we'll be looking at that wage growth compared how wage growth compared to inflation in January as well. What is also coming out tomorrow is annual data, right, which is, I think, what you're talking about. And so as we're looking at that, we expect a high year-over-year inflation rate reading in tomorrow's data, given what we know about the last year, right, and what we've seen over the last year. That's because year-over-year data largely reflects the price increases over the last year, as we've already talked about and we know about. It's not about the most recent trends, which I think is the important component for people to look at, right? There's monthly, and then there's also the annual data. So above 7%, as I think some are predicting, would not be a surprise, even though we don't know what the data is going to be. But looking at that, reading of it as we prepare for tomorrow is still consistent with the path, in our view, to go to your question, that leading outside forecasters continue to project that inflation is expected to decrease over the course and moderate over the course of this year. So that continues to be outside projections, even as we're preparing for the new data tomorrow. I think there was another part of your question, but I wanted to explain what people should prepare for.
Well, I guess with just getting back to how confident are you that a decrease can occur without hurting demand in the economy? Was the second part of the question.
Well, I would say, as you know, the Federal Reserve has purview over taking the independent approaches that they choose to. And we certainly, as the president has said, he welcomes and supports their efforts to take steps, or their plans to take steps. In terms of our confidence, we again rely on what their projections are about the projection that inflation will come down, that it will moderate, and we are also continuing to take steps to continue to grow the economy, continue to address the needs that the American people have in the economy.
Blow.
So there's a lot of bipartisan support for this. It's become a kind of populist issue, even with folks like Matt Gaetz, for instance. There's folks on the right who really love it. The speaker was resistant. There's some reporting today that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others might have been organizing a discharge position, which is a way of going around House leadership to get something to the floor. How do you understand what appears to be a change of heart from Democratic House leader, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi?
Well, Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi was wrong. I'm glad that she's changed her mind. I think that's a marker of leadership. But, the reality is I am always willing to stand up to leaders of both parties, including my own party. And I'm really gratified here that she is changing her mind. She said when she initially was asked about this that we have a free market economy. Well, she would also be the first, I think, to say that we have a free democracy. And that means what the American people want, what they feel strongly about, what they need to trust their leaders, we should be delivering. And that's what I think her change in position has signaled.
She also talked about including members of the judiciary. I wonder what you think of that idea. I couldn't tell if that's is that an attempt to maybe kill this because people won't go for it, or just to actually be ethically inclusive?
Well, the judiciary should be held to the same kind of high standard in earning the public's trust that members of Congress